Hello, hello, and welcome to the Joy Link, where we empower and inspire others to expand in joy. I'm your co-host, Brian, and I'm joined by the ever amazing Julia. How are you?
Hi, I'm great. I'm looking forward to talk today with you about the science behind joy. So, hello everyone. In this episode, we'll tap into the definitions of joy. I'm saying definitions because there are quite a few. We'll get into the good stuff. What are the benefits? You will also learn why and how joy is complex in the scientific world. And also we'll talk about psychology, neuroscience, and at the end, you will have an amazing task of the week to get into and start experiencing more joy. Okay, let's hop right into it. Let's start talking about some definitions. Brian, when I was doing a research for the episode, I found, I would say, too many and not enough good ones. So what is the definition based on science that you are going with?
Right. Yeah. So I found a few definitions as well. And the main one that I really agree with is that joy is a state of being that allows you to experience intense, long-lasting feelings of happiness and life satisfaction. And it's also very related to well-being and success and good fortune. Right.
Yeah, I think it's overall like the definitions were in the same kind of area, I would say, but just so you know, like based on the science, joy is an emotion. And then I think just to start with, how is the joy put into the word of classification, whatnot? So I found a definition from American Psychological Association that it defines joy as a feeling of extreme gladness, delight, and it's a sense of well-being and satisfaction. So it's quite similar to ones that you have.
Right.
So yeah, it's
We
yeah, but it's
agree.
difficult. Yeah, we agree, but there is also something that I found that joy as an emotion can coexist with so many others, like grief, and so it's quite complex as an emotion, but we will get to it in a second. But let's get to the good stuff. Brian, what are the benefits of joy overall based on science? And yeah.
Let's see the benefits. Well, I had one more point to add on the definition as well.
Oh,
Right. And that was just that the science also says, well, the psychologists and scholars are saying there's a big difference between happiness and joy. And so that's really part of the definition, right? Happiness is, it comes from external sources, and joy really comes from within. So that's really the main difference there between happiness and joy. One is a more long lasting, and another one is it kind of peaks and then it goes into a trough and it kind of fades off. It's like, when I go get that new shiny thing that I want, right? And oh, it makes me happy. But if I actually got joy from it, well, then I wouldn't need another thing, right? I would already have it. So, yeah, that's really the difference between happiness and joy and what really sets it apart.
yeah, and I think that's a great introduction to the benefits as well, because as a human being, you have two nervous system, which is parasympathetic and sympathetic, right? So the
Right.
thing is that the joy activates different system than happiness does. So the joy activates the parasympathetic nervous system, which promotes the feeling of peace and calm. It's like when you're relaxing, right? It's like the
Right.
right? It's this when you can breathe and relax. It's this process and digest mode, right? And then the other system, which is called sympathetic nervous system, this is actually activated by happiness, and that's why it's associated with excitement, energy, and activity. So
Right.
joy and happiness, they are like not only like it's kind of not the same, right? Because
Right.
it's this totally different energy behind it. And yeah, so it's quite interesting. But also there is based on the APA, the American Psychological Association, that the experience of joy, it's also associated with an increase of energy, but also an increase of confidence and self-esteem. So some of the benefits of joy are like increased self-esteem, confidence, calm, like the increased sense of peace and calmness. What else is to add to the good stuff?
The good stuff. Um, there is a sense of living in the moment. And right, because you're not in the anxiety of the sympathetic nervous system as well, because it's also in charge of that fight or flight um, reaction, right? The sympathetic. And so then you're in the moment. And it's also connected with more of you understanding yourself, like a self connection. And anytime that um, you can like share food with somebody or share a conversation with somebody, anytime you're really interacting, those are moments that can bring up joy as well. So there is that self connection and then also the connection with someone else. So it's connected with those two most important aspects of life. Really, it's relationships, right? Joy and relationships are really combined.
Yeah, that is true. But it's quite interesting how something that we know that it is full of benefits, right? Like I don't see that. I don't think that there are some downsides to joy from my experience or research, right? Like joy is connected to well-being, but it's also joy is not happiness. Joy is not um, it's not delusional as an emotion, right? Because happiness can be delusional. If you are happy in the moment when it's like a life threatening, then it's maybe not good, right? But the joy is joy is like this total like peace, calmness. And I think in every single situation will benefit, like you will benefit from being peaceful and calm, and this content within you in every single situation, approaching every single stage of your life, where like being this excited and happy. I think that sometimes it has this advantage, like I know it well from my life. But actually I wanted to talk about how I think it's quite interesting how something so simple than joy is, it's actually quite complex. And the thing is, why is it complex? Is because until pretty much the not end but mid of last century, like nobody was researching joy. And actually I found that there is this comprehensive textbook of psychiatry that is called like a clinical bible of psychiatry and clinical psychology, and it has like 500,000 lines of text. And Brian, can you guess like how many lines in this entire book are on joy?
Wow. Yeah, that is an absolute ton. What is it, like this big? This sounds like a gigantic book.
Yeah.
Joy. Let's see, 100.
Yes. So actually in this entire book, right, it's like 500,000 lines of text. There are thousands of lines on anxiety and depression, hundreds line of terror, shame, guilt, anger, fear. But there are 5 lines on the hope, 1 line of joy, just one a single line on joy, and
Wow.
then not even a single line on the compassion, forgiveness, and love. And
Yeah.
actually what we
It's
are
wild.
doing today, yeah, it's wild, it's just crazy.
When
But
was it written?
I don't know that, but I think it's quite some. I think it must have been
Sounds like it.
last century. Yeah, some years ago. But actually, this is I can check that. But then the thing is that this is what we do today. It's a result of a, let's say, movement or like a change in the psychology that happened last century, like I think in 60s or the 70s, which is the positive psychology, which is focusing more of like on those compassion, love, hope, and joy versus
Right.
depression, fear, terror. So pretty
Wow.
much the in the short definition of that, in my definition of this word, like the positive psychology is focusing on what is good with human being, and pretty much the entire majority of the work, it was like what is wrong with you kind of psychology and how terrible you are as a human being. And you can see that in the work of Freud and many others. So it's quite interesting, and I'm so honored that we can make entire podcasts on joy. Even in some massive books of psychiatry have the one line, we can have entire episode on that one, and that's the power of social media.
Right. Yeah, the positive psychology also gives us a toolkit as well on how to create more joy and positive emotional states and experiences in our life, and then how to really let go of the things that aren't really serving us as well. So they give us a really good blueprint, positive psychology. Yeah. Yeah, there was also a psychologist that said something that was really quite profound that uh, it's really quite strong. And so I'm going to quote C.S. Lewis. Yeah,
Okay.
so the quote goes like this: Joy, which is here in a technical term, must be sharply distinguished from happiness and pleasure. Joy has only one characteristic: the fact that anyone who has experienced it will want it again. I doubt whether anyone who tasted it would ever, if both were in their power, exchange it for any other pleasures in the world. End quote. Right? So it's kind of one of those things that we really want to be gravitating towards because it can give us so much in return that we're not going to want to trade it for anything. Says C.S. Lewis. It's very famous, world-renowned psychologist. So yeah, we're talking about a really important thing, and hopefully we can add some pages and lines to that book.
Yeah.
A really big book.
That, or maybe that already happened. I need to check. But yeah, let's talk about psychology and neuroscience of joy.
Right. So there is also another psychologist, Michelle Asuma, and she's talking about that joy accompanies the process through and through, right? So it's part of the journey. When happiness really is something that's tied to the achievement that's at the end of the process. So it's like it's really totally different there. And it's not a direct emotional response to an event like happiness is. So yeah, that's the psychology also reiterating that big difference that we can be happy through the process, and it can be with us and it comes from within us versus something external that is happiness based, and it's only if I have this new shiny thing. So yeah, and then also I found this really amazing paper that is called The Biological Connection to the Feeling of Happiness. And
Hmm.
this really goes really deep into the neuroscience and what really happens in the brain. And I believe there's like 10 or 15 different neuroscientists that were, they're published in Harvard Health and Psychology Today and Good Therapy and Evolutionary Psychology. And yeah, it's all over the place. The article is amazing. And yet the summary really has a definition. And the summary, it doesn't really sound like psychology or even neuroscience to me, which it sounds more like a way of life. So I'm going to tell you that right now, right? Their definition is that joy is an emotion that can be derived from simple things without involving any cost. I go, then joy is free. Saying joy is free. So that's another
Yeah.
just a
And
point that puts it inside of us, right?
yeah, and it was I think it was also American psychologist that said I'm not sure, it was violent the last name, maybe I'm butchering his last name, but he said that that the joy is being treated as a secret and like dirty and awful, that yeah,
Really?
people are shifting away from joy. It's the happiness that is largely cognitive, and it's a state of mind, not an emotion. That is why social scientists and economists love to study happiness. Happiness is a theme, so basically
Wow.
because of happiness is the state, like it's very easy to kind of, I would say, manipulate people that this is what they should strive for, because
Right.
it's something that it's impossible to feel in every single moment, right? And then when it comes to, and then it's something that we have this idea that we need to reach it. And it's like, yeah, that you can obtain it. But then joy is something that is coming within you. Like
Right.
literally, there is no power. And there is also information about that one, that somebody, like you can do something for someone, right? It's, and then
Right.
it, you have it not guaranteed that somebody will experience joy. This is something that I'm saying since ages, that there are people that they live in the palace and they are unhappy, miserable, depressed, and then there are people that they are living in extreme poverty and they are joyful to the degree that some people will never experience because their choice. So that's the thing, that joy, you cannot force anyone to be joyful, and then you
Right.
cannot take a joy from anyone because it's your
Right.
power and it's your choice. And that's why joy in so many definitions is related to well-being. And actually this episode is a very, it's sort of like a teaser because there is so much to contain about joy and the scientific. And actually we will be having some guests from the academia background to talk
Right.
more about joy in this context, because there is so much to talk about it. And yes, so
Right.
there's so people, great people out there, so
Right.
you will be hearing more about the science behind joy and all of that. So this topic will be kind of one of the main themes through the podcast for sure.
Yeah, definitely ongoing. As
Yes.
more research comes out in the positive psychology, we can bring up those really great books from them as well. And yeah, you were talking about something that gave me a thought, and it was no one can sell it to us. And so, but they can sell us happiness. It's a
Mm,
very, let's say, more of a shallow feeling, and it's kind of sparkly and shiny, but it's not as deep as joy is, right? So there's less talk about something because no one can benefit from it on, yeah, like happiness, like they can with selling happiness. So yeah,
that
that
is so true. Happiness is on sale and joy it's never will be. So that's the difference. And I think that's yeah, that's quite interesting how society is being constructed, that you are looking for happiness outside of you where you have
right,
all what you need, which is the joy within you, that you
right,
can just choose to experience it. But Brian,
right.
do you have something to add on the neuroscience, or we can get to practical things?
Yes, there was just that one more last the summary of
Yeah.
that neuroscience paper, which was really good because it didn't really sound like science, right?
Okay.
So the summary, it goes like this. Satisfaction is a selection, not a consequence. Nothing can make us comfortable until we choose to be. No person will satisfy us unless we decide to be satisfied. Happiness can never happen to us. It can only originate from us. So that sounds more like philosophy than it does science to me. But that's all of the research from these like 10, 15 scientists are saying, well, science is you build it within yourself and then it happens out into the world versus the other way that happiness is. So we have to decide to be joyful, and then we are. Like that's the
Yeah, and
big secret.
that's, yeah, that it's so true. And also you will, yeah, I think I am keep teasing you guys, but it's hard not to, because I know that so many good things are coming, but there is this beautiful connection between mind, because we want to think, we want to believe that we are logical beings, but I'm so sorry, we are not. We are driven by our emotions, and sometimes we're addicted to feeling miserable, like our body, and this is like staying into the into comfort zone,
Right.
because feeling good for a prolonged amount of time, it just doesn't feel comfortable anymore. How you can experience joy when you are so used to complaining, when you are so used to gossiping, when you are used to like going to work like, oh my god, I hate this place, I wish to be elsewhere, or saying like, oh, if I would have this or that, then my life would be easier and then I would be happy. Like, I call bullshit on that.
Right.
It's like, this is not true. Like, nobody can take it away from you until you, or you cannot experience it until you choose so it's totally up to you if you choose joy or not. Like, that's
Right.
the thing. Like, you can keep looking at the grass that is greener elsewhere, but you have the same capacity to experience joy like everyone else. It's all about the practice and the action. But speaking on that, like, there is a practice of the week that we will be all doing, and it's super, super simple. If you say there is literally no excuses for you not to do it, all you need is a pen, paper to do what, Brian?
Right. So we are going to make a list of, let's say, a top 10 list. It can even be 5 if they're strong enough, right? Make a list of all the things that bring you joy, right? And then we have a task for the week, or a challenge of the week is to spend more time every day doing those things. So we're going to make space in our lives for more joy. That's the first thing. What is it to you? And get on with doing them.
Yes.
And then,
And we will, yeah.
yeah,
And
tell me.
we will do that throughout the week. Of course, in the next episode, you will learn about the things that bring us joy, and also what is the outcome of our little practice, let's say.
Right.
Yeah, I'm super curious. I don't really know what I will put on the list, but yeah.
Right. Yeah, we're going to do the challenge along with everybody else. And then we're going to come back on the next episode with some summaries and overviews. And okay, well, this was my list and that was your list. And how did it go? And how was life different? And the key here is consistency. So that's why I want a few different things on that list. Yeah, we want to be doing at least one thing every day and pulling from the list and then just spending a little bit of time, right?
Yeah.
So yeah, I can't wait to see what everybody comes up with. I can't wait to see what your list is. And I have a good idea of a couple things
Yeah.
yet. How I'm going to bring them in even more, well, we'll see. That's the fun part, right?
Yeah.
That's our
That
home.
sounds great. Yeah, so that's it for today's, guys. I hope you enjoyed the episode. Please connect with us on socials, and yeah, let's just keep in touch. And if you want to share your list throughout the week, just share it and tag us. And also, you can invite your friends to it, because as you learned today, there are a lot of benefits to joy, and you as well as your community will benefit from that. And so, thank you so much, and see you next week. Hear you
Yep.
next week. Yeah,
Yep.
you will hear us next week.
See you next week. All right. Thanks,
Bye.
everybody. Enjoy.